everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Selena with Selena Marie LLC, and today I will be showing you how to sublimate your own 40-ounce tumbler, just like this one. Now I will be skipping the printing process for this project, but if you're interested in seeing more in-depth information, please just leave a comment below. Now let's take a look at everything we're going to need for this project. In today's video, I will be using this convection oven that I got on Amazon. You guys have been asking how I make my 40 ounces in this specific oven, so today I'm going to show you just that. Next, you will need your sublimation blank. Today, we're going to be using this cute 40 ounce with this super cute, vibrant pink handle. And I'm going to be pairing it with my sublimation transfer, which I've already printed, and we'll cut these later in the video. But get you a pair of scissors to cut that out, or you can also use some sort of guillotine, which I'll show in the video, but it's definitely not necessary. You will also need some heat protection. This oven on Amazon actually does come with a pair of these, but you can always buy extra. Today we will be using the shrink wrap method, so you will need some shrink wrap and a heat gun, and I'll show you that process. I will also be using my Plymouth Mini Trident, which is not necessary, but it will help you get a tighter wrap around your tumbler, and it works really well. I am an affiliate for them, however, I have broken a few of my regular Tridents and have gotten them replaced time and time and again because I really, really love this tool, and the mini one has actually been much easier for me, so this might be my go-to. I do recommend you grab a oven thermometer that you can use inside of your oven to accurately track your temperature. Sometimes what happens with these convection ovens is they don't get hot enough, or they may be running too hot compared to what you think. So just grab one of these so you can accurately test, just to make sure it's the temperature that you want it to be for your blank. It can get really hot inside of the convection oven, where it can potentially make your shrink wrap too hot and burn it or melt it, and you may get melted shrink wrap inside of your oven. I've had that happen to me before, and it's super annoying to clean up, so I'm going to give you a little tip on how to prevent that. My recommendation is to grab yourself some oven liner that you can cut and put inside your oven. It comes in this big roll. I cut it to the size of my convection oven, which you'll see inside. So that way I'm not laying my tumbler directly onto this hot rack. It has a barrier, and I'll show you. Now let's jump in and sublimate our tumbler. Let's start by trimming our design. I like to get rid of as much white as I possibly can. I will be using my pink guillotine cutter. However, you can use regular scissors just as well. And then, since my design is super close to the edge, I am going to take my scissors and just trim that, because sometimes you can get ink that gets trapped in the edges. So you want to make sure you're trimming every single edge of your paper. So there's the top part for a tumbler. And now I'm going to trim the bottom. And since the bottom of my tumbler is tapered, and so is my design, I like to take regular scissors and trim it to have my tapered. Okay, now we have the bottom ready to go. So we're gonna go ahead and prep our tumbler. I'm gonna take my lid off, and we're going to remove our handle. I have my little baby drill that I like to use, but you can also use a Phillips head screwdriver. Let's go ahead and remove our screws. And be very careful with this. Don't scratch your polyester coating, because you will have chipping. And also be careful not to strip your screws. I also have this adapter that I like to use. I picked this up at Walmart. That I like to use on the bottom one that helps make things easier. And I do put my finger behind it in between the cup just to make sure that I'm not scratching my polyester coating. Okay, your handle. I would recommend prepping your tumbler by cleaning it with a nice microfiber cloth and some 70% alcohol. This will help get rid of any dirt that may be on the tumbler. Then we're going to let that dry and we'll put our design on. Do not put your design on while the alcohol is still wet because it will eat away at your ink. So I start with the top portion of my tumbler first. And I do have my Trident Mini set to level 4, and that tends to work best for my 40-ounce tumblers. And the way I like to do it is I like to wrap my transfer towards my handle. I ensure that I have an equal distance between my handle. You can measure it, but 9 times out of 10, I just kind of eyeball it. Okay. And like I mentioned, the Trident Mini is not necessary. However, it's a great tool to ensure you get a nice, tight sublimation wrap without hurting your fingers. If you don't get a tight sublimation wrap, what can tend to happen is what's called ghosting, or you may get blurry images. It might not look as high quality as it should because your transfer's loose. Okay, now let's go ahead and tape it. I didn't mention at the beginning, but you will need some heat transfer tape. I love my tape dispenser, not necessary, but makes things a lot more efficient. Okay, I start by taping a little part on the top and the bottom on each side. And then I will undo my Trident Mini and finish taping. And I kind of just press it down, and then I'm gonna tape the top all the way around and the bottom all the way around just to ensure I get a nice tight pressure on my cup. Okay, now that all of our top is taped, I'm going to go ahead and tape my bottom. Just like we did the top, I wrap it towards my handle on the bottom so everything lines up. I haven't tried using my Trident Mini for this just yet, but I'm going to go ahead and just grip it as tightly as I possibly can and tape. Then I'm going to tape down the middle. And again, I'm going to tape my top and bottom of my bottom transfer. And I push my tape towards the bottom, keeping my transfer flat against the cup. This will avoid any creases. Now that we have everything nice and taped, let's go ahead and put our shrink wrap on. Okay, now my shrink wrap. Okay, let me grab my heat glove. And when I do shrink wrap, I like to hold my shrink wrap where the handle is, just to have a better grip. And that's where I kind of like the shrink wrap to kind of shrivel up and not be the smoothest, is where the handle is, where you don't have the transfer. And before I start shrink wrapping, I always make sure I have enough distance at the top and the bottom to where my shrink wrap is going to overlap and go around my tumbler. That's important to get a good seamless, non-ghosting top and bottom. And I get out as many wrinkles as I possibly can and try to get out as many bubbles as possible. But as long as you have a nice tight wrap around your cup, you should be good. And we'll go ahead and throw it into our oven. Before we turn our oven on, I do want to talk about the 3 knobs on this convection oven. The first one is your temperature knob. I personally set mine to 150 degrees Celsius, which is approximately 302 degrees Fahrenheit. However, with my oven thermometer, I have learned that this press runs about 375 degrees Fahrenheit compared to the 302 that it's supposed to run. So my convection oven runs hotter than what it is supposed to on this knob. That's why this thermometer is super important, so you can get accurate temperature for your tumblers. The second knob here is for your temperature probes inside of your convection oven. You want to make sure that your knob is set downward to the 3rd setting. The first setting is to only heat the top probes. The second setting is to only heat the bottom probes, and the third one is to heat both your top and bottom. So you want to make sure you're heating both the top and the bottom probes to have that even heat distribution for your tumbler. The third one is your timer. I personally just set this all the way to the 60 minutes and allow my oven to preheat before I put my tumbler in. That's why the thermometer is also important, so you can preheat your oven and know that it's at the right temperature before you get started. Okay, twist the knob. I put my tray on the bottom so I have as much room as possible for my 40-ounce tumblers to fit. Go ahead and put your thermometer inside your oven where you can read it and let it preheat. I like to take out my thermometer because there's not much room in this oven, so I like to have as much room as possible for my 40-ounce tumbler. Be careful, this is hot. Okay, now let's start by putting our tumbler in the oven very carefully, making sure that I'm staying on my oven sheet. And making sure that you are not touching any of the metal inside of the oven. That will chip your tumbler. Now let's set our timer for 3 minutes. 3 minutes, and then we're going to flip our tumbler. Now we're going to flip our tumbler very carefully. This is going to be super hot. Take my tumbler out, and I'm going to flip it the complete opposite way. That's just my personal preference. Ensuring I'm not on the metal rack and nothing is touching. Then I'm gonna set my timer for another 3 minutes. Okay, go ahead and take your tumbler out and very carefully make sure you're wearing your gloves. Okay, I'm gonna let it cool just a little bit. The reason why I like to do that is to make my shrink wrap just a little bit tougher so it's easier to cut and peel away. Okay. Go ahead, and I like to make just a little cut at the beginning. Be careful, do not go all the way because you can chip your own polyester coating. Just cut it a little bit where you can start your peel. And I recommend putting your heat glove back on because it's gonna be hot. Now we are going to peel our design. Start my peel in the top corner. She's so cute. Now we're gonna let it cool completely and we'll put our handle and lid back on. Before I put my handle on, I do wanna put on what's called a rubber bottom on the bottom of my tumbler. What this does is it helps protect the bottom of your tumblers, and when you set them on a surface, the bottom's not getting scratched and it stays in place. It's not gonna be scooting around everywhere. So I'm just gonna quickly put that on, and we have our rubber bottom. Now I'm gonna put on the handle. Make sure your screw holes are pointing downward. And as I mentioned, be very careful not to strip your screw and not to scratch the polyester coating on your tumbler. Look how cute she is. I love the colored handle and lid. Such a great touch. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helps you make your very own 40-ounce tumbler. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Please be sure to like and subscribe for future videos. I can't wait to see you next time. Happy crafting. Okay, once we have everything nice and taped. This one sound better? Did I get it right this time? Are you guys gonna watch my videos? Is my audio good?